fuck? Hey guys, what the fuck's up, you guys? My name's EmanDance242, and welcome to a review of Drawn to Life. So, for a little background, Drawn to Life, the next chapter, was the second game I've ever played. It was back in, 2011. I was about 8 years old. I played the game back then, but I've never played through the whole game since then. But a few months ago, me and my friend, not sure if you've heard of him, I've only mentioned him a few times, CowQuack, who is appearing in this video to share his own thoughts on the game. We started talking about this game because he played it as a kid too. Then, shortly after, a new Drawn to Life game was announced. So, we both played the first game and replayed the second.
Hello, it's me, CowQuack.
Drawn to Life is a DS game made by Fifth Cell, the same developer as Scribblenauts. Drawn to Life is a pretty simple game where you draw stuff. You draw the character you play as, and you draw objects and platforms that are used in the levels. Now, it was weird playing this game after playing the next chapter because this game is not nearly as good as that game. In this game, you play as God, or the Creator, who, as it sounds, draws and creates the whole world. The game takes place in Raposa Village, home to Raposa, these rabid cat creatures. So all of the Raposa live peacefully in the village. There existed a book of life containing everything the creator created for the world that was held in the creation hall. One day, a Raposa, Wilfrey, stole the book of life and tried to create an army of shadows of his own. He ripped out pages of the book, removing what the pages contained from the village. Raposa Village turned into a dark, brittle place, and most of the Raposa left, leaving the mayor, his daughter Mary, and her friend Joey.
Speaking of Joey, what's up with him? Is he a cat or a rabbit, Raposa? Why is he a rabbit in the concept art, and then in the beginning of the next chapter, but a cat with the in-game sprite and this title screen image? Wait, is that Rabbit Joey on the same screen?
Yeah, and what about Mary? Most of the time she has rabbit ears, but her hair is brown in the game and it's red in the concept art. And most of the concept art has some inconsistencies in the character's ears. The males have cat ears and the females have rabbit ears, but that's only in the in-game sprites. The concept art is all over the place. Some males have rabbit ears, and some females have cat ears. I can't take it. I've gone too deep down the rabbit hole. Get it? Rabbit hole? Raposa? Mary prayed to the creator to create a hero and save the village. And that's where you come in. You draw the hero and you have to go to various worlds and levels to try and retrieve pages of the Book of Life and bring the Rapos back to the village. The game has a simple yet nice story. Wilfrey is pretty simple village, but he's cool. But throughout the game, he rarely does anything. He only shows up before a boss fight and at the end. And every time he does show up, he doesn't really do anything about the hero stopping his plans. He mostly let it happen. Outside of levels, you spend all of the game in Raposa Village. It's a nice village, and I like the atmosphere, but it's way too samey. As the game goes on, you uncover more and more of the village. It is really easy to get lost because nothing really stands out and every house looks the same. The overall presentation is nice, but again, nothing really stands out too much. Same with the levels. They look nice, but it's pretty average. The music is pretty good. Again, it's weird playing this game after the next chapter because that game has much better versions of this game's songs. Much better versions. So listening to this game's OST is just not the same. A reoccurring feeling I've had in this game is there is something big missing. I know it's because I play the next chapter, but I had that ongoing feeling that there was something missing. There is one thing that I do really like about this game, and that is the characters and dialogue. Aside from the hero, all the other characters are not too important, You have the mayor who is keeping peace and is sorting out all the village issues. He's also preparing Mary for the inevitable day that she becomes the mayor. I like how things do get kinda serious with this burden on both the mayor and Mary's shoulders. Joey doesn't really do a whole lot either, but I love him. Besides those three, the rest of the characters are not really important at all, but they are all quite memorable and enjoyable. Just the little bit of dialogue they have, I did really like. I do feel sometimes there is pointless dialogue. The pacing can slow down a lot when in between levels you have to go talk to the mayor and go talk to someone else and rinse and repeat. It could get really tedious. I wouldn't say that I wanted to get to the levels, so the dialogue was, the best thing about the game. Now, this whole game is based on drawing stuff. In the levels, there are these canvases where you can draw certain objects to help you progress in the game. I mean, these are cool, but there are just way too many of them, and most of them appear in one level, then never again. And many of them act as the same thing as another thing you drew in an earlier level. Also, some of them make absolutely no sense. The game will be like, draw a Ferris wheel, and I'll be like, what? And many of the things you draw don't blend well with everything around you. Not in the way they look because, well, obviously they won't, but in the way they interact with the environment. Mainly platforms, which can act really weird sometimes. This concept of drawing the world around you is a neat idea, but it's not used to the full extent, like it will be in the next chapter. The world starts out being all bleak and cold, and the pages of the Book of Life will fix that, but in the next chapter the world is colorless and you have to color it in. This game lacks creativity sometimes. Ironic for a game about drawing.
Drawn to life. Why don't you draw some bitches?
The actual gameplay of Drawn to Life is a mixture of platforming and collectathon. Each level has 4 pages, 3 rapos, and 3 secrets to find. Now that's a lot. The levels are quite long and mediocre at best. The level design is very basic. There are many branching paths and different areas to go, which is something I do tend to favor over simple linear level design, but for a 2D platformer it's not ideal. Unless it's the style of a Metroidvania game, like Metroid, or Great Cave Offensive from Kirby Superstar Ultra. But it does not work at all in this game. Each level drags on way too much and is not fun. Plus, the physics and controls are so weird. All of your actions feel like they are delayed and have no weight to them. Hitboxes are weird too. Like if you just are a pixel off from hitting your target, you take damage.
There are 4 worlds in total, each with their own gimmick. The first world introduces the gun you hold. The second world's gimmick is that it gives you wings. The third world's gimmick is that it's shit. And the fourth world has you eating berries to become big.
The first world is a snow world. Okay, I like that. The combat mainly consists of jumping on enemies to beat them, but every world you get a different projectile weapon too. In the first world you get the snow shooter, which is just an average projectile. The only problem is you have limited ammo. There are some enemies you can't jump on, so if you don't have enough ammo, then you're out of luck. In the first level, you could already see the faults with the gameplay, and it does not get much better. Each level looks relatively the same, with mediocre to sometimes bad level design. There were not any levels that I really enjoyed. With all the collecting you have to do on top of that, it makes them even worse. The second world is the best in the game. It's still not that great, but it's okay. It's a forest world, but also a dark night forest, and a space forest too. That's actually kind of cool. And there are some neat places that you explore. You also get wings, and it's utilized decently well. The third world is bad. Quite bad. It's a beach and a water world. That's right, water. You know what that means? Bad water levels. The water physics suck, and it's really difficult to move around and hit enemies. The final world is odd. There are still 4 levels, with the 4th being the boss fight. The first 2 are fine, but the gimmick this time is that you are large. The levels are accommodated to that, but you move so slowly and it's really annoying to use. The 3rd and 4th levels are again average, but you get a sword and it actually works. How do you expect it? Good. Each world has a boss and none of them are really that good. The first boss, Frostwind, was okay. It wasn't that hard, but it was really annoying to hit. The second boss, Deadwood, is awful. It's terrible. You have to hit these acorns, but it's so hard because there are tons of shadow bats coming after you, and Deadwood keeps laughing, making you fall down. Not only that, but your weapon, the acorn blaster, is awful. You have to time your jump and shoot just right to hit him. The third boss, Angler King, is just as bad as Deadwood. I didn't have as much trouble, but boy was it bad. Again, it's really hard to hit and you cannot see where he's coming from because the screen is so zoomed in. Plus there are shadowfish coming at you and they are super annoying. The bosses have pretty much the worst qualities of all the problems I had at the main levels, all in one. Like I said earlier, you rescue many Raposa on your journey, and most of them are not too important, but there are a few that are actually kinda important. And I'm saying important with a grain of salt. You save Heather, who is half black. Like, literally. Half her face is pitch black. She doesn't say anything in the game and no one knows who she is, but there is something strange about her. She doesn't do anything of actual importance, but she'll be important in the next game. No one really pays attention to her being half black, and she just kinda hangs around Joey the whole game. The other important Raposa is not even a Raposa. Mike, who is a human. Humans don't exist in this universe, so no one knows what he is. Again, he doesn't really do anything important either. He is just completely confused on what's going on. But he is important in the next game. This is late spoiler section, so the whole game you spend collecting the pages of the Book of Life that Wilfrey tore out. But before the final level, he appears and steals the book from the mayor and rips out a bunch of pages. Not only that, he kills the mayor. This scene is actually really sad. For a kid's game, this does get dark. The whole game, the mayor keeps the peace and helps everyone out, along with preparing Mary to become the mayor. Mary is forced to take responsibility now. What makes this death so impactful is the impact it has on Mary and the village. Wilfrey is destroying the village once again, and you have to stop him. The last level before the fight is not fun. It's a pretty average level. There are parts where you have to platform over these falling platforms and vanishing platforms, and that's really fucking annoying, but besides that, it's another mediocre level. Once at the boss room, you fight Wilfrey's Scorpion. This fight was bad. It was not as bad as Deadwood or Angler King, but it's bad. It requires precise timing and movements, or else you will die. And after that, you finally fight Wilfrey. This fight was okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't enjoyable or thrilling. It was just wait for an opening, then attack, then wait, then attack. It's not fun. The only issue is that it took way too long. There was a lot of waiting. And with that, you stop Wilfrey. The village is completely restored and the darkness is cleared. After the fight, the game ends pretty abruptly. Mary accepts her mayoral duties, Heather says Wappo, and Joey decides to go on an adventure and leave the village. Temporarily. I do really like this scene before Joey leaves. We get a really heartfelt moment between Joey and Mary. There is a definite bond between these characters, and they may not do anything too important in this game. Their relationship is a big focus of the game. So Joey leaves and the game ends with a really nice and cute credit scene. Drawn to Life is a nice game that I found decent enjoyment with. Mainly the characters and the dialogue. The gameplay was mediocre and even bad at times. The good parts aren't really enough to save the game, but I still enjoyed it a decent amount. It was definitely weird playing it after playing the next chapter, because that game is far better than this one in every aspect. And there was just something missing with this game. I'm going to give Drawn to Life a 6 out of 10. I'd say the only reason to play this game is really so you could play the next chapter. On its own, this game won't leave you satisfied. You have to play the next chapter to get the full Drawn to Life experience. This has been Drawn to Life. Fuck you.